Hey guys, it's Molly, and this is part two of my Velocity Banking Money Tracker report for the week of September 23rd through the 29th. I wanted to show you on this worksheet. The left side of my worksheet for bills this week is where I address all of my multiple credit cards, and on the right side is where I address my primary card. So, this video, we're going to be addressing the multiple cards that I had due for this time period and how I matched, if I matched, with any bills to meet my credit card obligation. Okay, so for card one, we have $27 is the minimum payment. This was my original primary card. It had a balance of $8,353.34 in June of this year. 10 weeks of applying this velocity banking strategy, that balance became $550 and a minimum payment due for the month of October of $27. And the way I do velocity banking is I use my existing credit cards as my line of credit. So $27 is what the minimum payment due on this card. So I just paid that the traditional way. I didn't match it with anything. I was like, $27 is not a big deal. I'm going to go ahead and pay that. Now, credit card two, however, had a minimum payment due of $171, and credit card four had a minimum payment due of $94. Credit card two, $171. That's a big chunk, especially considering that I also have my husband's child support due, which is $395. So, what I did with this card was I made the payment on Saturday for the exact amount of the child support. So, I ignored the 171 in that I'm not paying the 171. I had to match it with a bill that met or exceeded the $171. So, that was child support. On Saturday, I made the payment for $395 onto this credit card. Then I waited a couple of days for that to reflect on the credit card, that payment of $395 to come off of my balance. And then on Tuesday, I went online, I saw that it had cleared, the balance was brought down $395. So at that point, I then paid the child support with this credit card. So for credit card four, I had $94 due. And thanks to a viewer who suggested that I match it with my Starbucks budget. So I paid $46 on that Saturday on that card, brought the balance down by $46. And then once that cleared, I then used this card, card four, to reload my Starbucks app by $46. So this card, card four, is actually due on the 8th of October. So next Saturday will be October 7th. So I'll do the same thing. I will make a payment, but I'll make it for $48 so that that 46 that I paid this past week, 48 for next week, will meet that $94 monthly obligation. And I will have 2 weeks of my Starbucks met. So what this did, you guys, was by paying it this way, I did not have to pay $171 out of pocket for that credit card. I did not have to pay $94 out of pocket for that credit card. So for my bills this week, my total was $1,027. If I had to pay the traditional way and I had to make those payments for the 171 for credit card 2 and the 94 for credit card 4, then my total for bills this week would have come to $1,292. And as you know, if you watch my videos, I take the bills this week and I add what my budget is for my primary card, and I come up with my total so that I can keep my eye on how much my husband and I need to make. We don't have a regular fixed income. So in the circle, I had that we needed to make this past week $1,362. If I had to add those credit cards in there and I was not able to match them with the child support and the Starbucks, then I would have had to come up with $1,627 because my bills this week would have increased from 1,027 to 1,292 because of adding back in those payments for those credit cards. So if I had to come up with $1,627 this week, I would have been short because what we actually made was $1,464. So if you are coming up short every month, you might want to consider paying your bills this way. And let's talk about the interest because that's a concern for a lot of people. So for card one, just the way it happened to work out, you know, I made the $27. So I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about the interest on that one. It's not really reflecting yet. Now, we'll take a look at it next month and see if it shows anything. But for the statement this week, the $27, there was no interest charged to it. That will change, I'm sure. But credit card 2, I was charged $115 in interest, and credit card 4, I was charged $63 in interest. But I want to point out that I was not charged interest on that Starbucks or on the child support. The interest is being charged because I already have a balance on these cards. All of my cards have a high balance. They all have a a minimum payment due. None of these cards are 0% interest. So I'm being charged interest, but I'm being charged because I'm carrying a balance on it. So the credit card for credit card 2, where I put the child support on there, I'm not being charged interest on that child support because I made the payment for the child support before I put the child support on there. Okay, same thing with credit card 4. I made the payment for the Starbucks before I put the Starbucks on there. So the interest that I'm charged is on the existing balance. And that's what I say when I refer in some of my other videos as sleeping the cards. I'm not adding to the balance, and you get charged interest on your average daily balance. So by making the payment for the exact amount of whatever miscellaneous bill I'm going to be paying with that card, by making the payment first, bringing that balance down and waiting, it's as if the transaction never occurred. So again, for child support, I made the payment on the credit card too for the exact amount of the child support. I then waited for that to reflect on the credit card balance. So I saw that my balance came down $395. So then on Tuesday, I paid the child support $395 using that card. So I'm right back where I started. So again, when I'm using my primary card, which is on the right side of this worksheet, I am paying that card every week. So that balance is coming off my primary card every week, but I'm being charged interest once a month. So my overall debt includes my primary card and it includes these multiple cards. So if I'm focusing all of my efforts onto my primary card. Now, if we made extra money, it basically would have been that 171 and that 94 would have been applied to my primary card. But how it worked out this week is it just saved me from going negative because if I had to pay the child's the I'm sorry, the card 2, the 171 for card 2, in addition to the child support, I would have been having to come up with $566. But instead, because I did not have to pay the 171 for card 2 and I did not have to pay the 94 for card 4, I was able to come in under budget. And so if I had to add those back in, instead of 1,027 this week, I would have had to come up with 1,292 for just my bills. Then I would have had my variables that I use for my primary card. So my total financial obligation this week would have been $1,627. And what we made this week was $1,464. So I would have been in the negative by $163. And that may be what's happening with you guys. You're paycheck to paycheck, or sometimes you're negative. But if you pay your bills this way, it enables you to get out of debt very, very quickly. And so I was charged interest, the 115 and the 63 on these two cards, which added $178 to my overall debt this month. However, just in this week alone, by paying my bills this way, my primary card, I was able to bring that balance down by $182.60. And for the whole month, I was able to bring the debt on my primary card down by $1,414.52. And if you saw my video I put out a couple of days ago, where you can see I've been working on this existing primary card for just the month of September, where for the entire 7 months previous of this year, I was only able to bring that balance down by like $400. And then in 1 month, by paying my bills this way, I brought that balance down by $1,414.52. Okay, so yes, you will be charged interest if you have an existing balance on your card. But the trick is, the secret is, you want to use your miscellaneous bills to meet your credit card minimum payments. But in order to make it work most efficiently, you have to pay that balance down before you put the bill on that card, so that whatever interest you're being charged is only off of your existing balance. That is what I call sleeping the card. And then you either get a break like we did this week, where we were able to still bring the card balance down off of our primary card, or if it's not just the breathing room you need, it could actually increase how much is coming off your primary card, because you're funneling that minimum payment instead of to a card that's not really making any movement. You're funneling all of those card actions, all of those minimum payments to one single primary card, paying that down as fast as possible, and then you move the next card into position. And we'll talk about that in the next video. So if you have any questions or comments, please post below. If it feels like it's out of reach, please don't get frustrated. It took me like 6 weeks to understand just how to use one card in this manner. So working multiple cards probably took me an additional 6 weeks before I had that eureka moment. You will get it. It's just, this is not the way we've been taught to pay our bills. This is a very efficient way to get out of debt very quickly. And once you get it, it's a game changer. So I hope you guys have a great day. And if you want to get this worksheet, I have it available to you in the description of this video and in the pinned comment below. Bye, you guys.